Hello and welcome to the Undead Gaming News Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things gaming. I'm your host, Zombie, and joining me is my co-host, Litchi.
Hello.
First up this week we have System Shock, as the developers confirm it's still in the works. Developer Night Dive Studios confirmed that it's still underway and it's long-delayed remake of System Shock, saying that it can assure players that the game is on the way. In an update on Kickstarter, Night Dive Studios said that it had continued to work towards launching the game, and we've all been patiently waiting for, and acknowledged some confusion over dates, which it said is an unfortunate reality of making games. It also teased some big news to share in the future that will help make sense of what's been going on, and thank players for their patience. What do you think about that?
I don't know, it's just an update to say, we're still working on it.
Well, yeah, because people were afraid that it had been cancelled or something, because there was just that trailer that we talked about a while ago and then nothing else.
Yeah, it's cool, man. Until they pop up and say, oh yeah, we're not doing that anymore, then it's happening.
Well, we don't know that for sure, because there have been games in the past, not obviously by them, but there have been games that have gone into development hell and just never been released and never talked about again.
But it always comes to light that it was cancelled.
Not always. We're still waiting on confirmation for one of them. But also in the news, the UK's Advertising Standards Authority has released some new standards for in-game ads and microtransactions, as the updated guidance on how the game developers and publishers should and shouldn't advertise in-game premium currencies and other purchases. The ASA is pushing back against in-game timers and labels such as best value. The new guidance covers both in-game advertising and general ads you might encounter on TV or while browsing the web. The focus of the ASA's new rules is to stop the ads that might pressure players into a purchase or mislead customers on the existence, purpose, and total cost of in-app purchases. For games that contain a premium currency only available via real-world money, the ASA wants advertisers and pop-ups to include a real-world currency value. So an ad offering to sell you a new weapon for 500 gems would have to include an actual currency amount too. If the ad appears in-game, then the ad must reflect how many gems or coins you currently have and how many you'll need to get the item, and how much that will cost you in real money. The ASA does understand that there is a difference between games that offer ways to earn in-game items for free and games that only offer those items for real-world money, and as such, the ASA will treat these games differently. So games that only sell something like gems for money will have to play by different advertising rules than games that offer a free path for in-app items. Games that include countdown timers in their stores or make use of labels such as best value or best offer will also have to knock that off. In the UK, if they want to comply with the new ASA guidance, the regulatory group did request devs include notifications if a game includes loot boxes and believes that a larger decision on if loot boxes are gambling should be made by the UK's Gambling Commission. While the ASA isn't able to interpret or enforce legislation or fine companies that break ASA guidance, it can refer serious offenders to other regulators with stronger powers in the UK, and the group's rules largely line up with UK law. What do you make of that?
What about in-game currencies that obviously, if it says this costs 500 gems, yeah.
Yes.
And then on a different point on the store, not on the same, does it have to be on the exact same thing? Like it has to say like 500 gems equals like, I don't know, £5.
Yes.
A gem is 1 pence apparently. But if elsewhere on the store, like you can buy gems and it says 500 for £5, do they still have to have on the other page of the store where the item you want is, does it still have to say new gun, 500 gems, £5?
Yeah.
Or with the fact that it's already on the store and says £5 right there?
If it says, get this gun for 500 gems, it has to also say the real world money equivalent next to it, so that you know, as a consumer, how much you're spending. At the end of the day, the ASA is obviously just wanting them to not falsely advertise and to be a bit more open and clear with people on how much everything is worth and how much they're spending.
Yeah.
And also in the news, we have the Perfect Dark reboot is apparently being co-developed by the Tomb Raider developer Studio Crystal Dynamics. In a tweet, the primary developer, The Initiative, told fans that we are partnering with Crystal Dynamics The world-class team bringing character-driven games such as Tomb Raider to bring this first-person spy thriller to a new generation. In a follow-up tweet, the company said that the project was still early in development, so we're unlikely to see the fruits of this partnership for a little while yet. And in its own set of tweets, Crystal Dynamics expressed its excitement at reimagining the heroes of Perfect Dark alongside the initiative, and that work on the title will take place alongside Marvel's Avengers and Tomb Raider. What do you make of this?
Well, no, I mean, Crystal Dynamics, they had a good start with the obviously the first two Tomb Raiders, but Shadow apparently wasn't that great, and the Avengers game was kind of a flop. So this is obviously an opportunity for them to, obviously with working with the initiative, it gives them a chance to obviously redeem themselves from their most recent mistakes.
Yeah. Is it a game that you're looking forward to?
I mean, I've never heard of Perfect Dark, but saying obviously Crystal Dynamics have mistakes, they can make decent games, and I don't think they would back a game if it obviously wasn't going to be a decent game. Because obviously, in theory, Shadow of the Tomb Raider was alright, and in theory, the Avengers would have been great. It was the execution that obviously wasn't great. So all they need to work on is the execution, but obviously it'll be the initiative also being obviously working on the execution rather than just relying on Crystal Dynamics.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of game it is. Perfect Dark tells me it sounds kind of like maybe it's an action horror or something.
It's a first-person spy thriller.
Perfect Dark sounds horror to me because it says dark, and normally dark is like horror. Whatever.
Well, spies work at night, typically, so...
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Well, also in the news, we have Ubisoft announcing a Ghost Recon Battle Royale, which has been given the title Ghost Recon Frontline. It will be a free-to-play game that will feature multiple modes, but the main one will be called Expedition, and in it you have 100 players who will compete in teams of 3 for intel that is scattered across a sprawling map full of different landmarks and biomes. Once teams get the information they need, they'll need to call for an extraction, which will alert opponents, resulting in shootouts, and players will also get to choose from one of 3 classes: Assault, Support, or Scout, each with different strengths and weaknesses and abilities. Class swapping on the fly will be a thing, and there was no release date yet. Frontline will have its first closed test from October the 14th to October the 21st for PC players in Europe. What do you make of this?
I make of this that obviously it's just Ubisoft jumping onto the Battle Royale bandwagon now that it's kind of dying down. But obviously, I don't know that Ghost Recon was necessarily the best fit for a Battle Royale, because the objectives, the clues in the name, obviously it's Ghost Recon. It's supposed to be like kind of stealthy, and I wouldn't say like stealth is really a Battle Royale thing. Whereas obviously I would have said Rainbow Six would have made more sense. So it's the same. Obviously, it's by the same guy.
Yeah, but they've also got their own project at the minute as well, haven't they?
Would you say Rainbow Six is also kind of stealthy? Because obviously you've got to get in and save a hostage and stuff.
I wouldn't consider it to be stealthy, no. It's typical breach and clear procedure.
Yeah. Do you agree that would have been a better fit for a Battle Royale than, obviously, covert operations?
Well, yeah, but as I said, obviously, Rainbow Six Siege also has a project of their own at the moment that they've got going on. So, yeah, I don't really think I'll ever play this Battle Royale game, because Battle Royale's kind of dead to me. Didn't really play most of them anyway.
Yeah.
But also in the news, Blizzard is apparently working on a major bug in Diablo 2 Resurrected. The launch of Diablo 2 Resurrected was not the smoothest rollout ever. Shortly after it went live, reports of disappearing characters began rolling in, and Blizzard took the game offline for a spot of unscheduled maintenance. And then a couple hours later it appeared that everything was sorted, but not quite. As it turns out, in an update posted by Blizzard, they said that it intends to release a permanent fix for the bug on the PC, and shortly after for consoles, and in the meantime, it recommends that players use different names for online and offline characters, as using the same name for both is related to the bug. And furthermore, the team is working to resolve the issue of character lockouts. Diablo 2 community manager Holy explained that many of these characters are already in the process of being unlocked, and we appreciate this process will take a few hours to complete. Players unable to create or join game lobbies, we've been evaluating activities that have prevented them from being able to play in those sessions. We're actively working to find a solution to these issues. Blizzard is also working on the crash bugs and the AVX issue that's preventing players from starting Diablo 2 Resurrected, and it's observing various other issues and bugs. An update on that front will be shared once the bigger issues are taken care of. But also in the news, Hitman is coming to GOG.com, and it's already been review bombed due to the online DRM. The Hitman Game of the Year edition launched on GOG.com, but soon after, players began complaining and review bombing once they discovered the large parts of the stealth game were locked behind online DRM checks. This rubbed many the wrong way because GOG makes a big deal about being DRM free. GOG.com is an online storefront that first started out as a place for devs and publishers to sell older PC games, but now sells newer and modern games too. It also boasts that it doesn't support or use any forms of DRM, and the main problem comes down to what is locked away from players who decide to play Hitman offline or who can't access servers for whatever reason. Without an internet connection, players can't access escalation missions, exclusive targets, or user-created missions. This is advertised on the GOG store page for Hitman Game of the Year edition. However, there's more that's locked away from offline players that isn't advertised on the storefront, including the ability to unlock weapons, items, outfits, and earn a new starting location. While this doesn't make the game unplayable, it does mean a large portion of Hitman is only available to people who can connect to the internet. What do you make of this?
If obviously, you can't access the online features of this game if you don't have online, but that's a given.
It's not just online features though. Being able to unlock locations and weapons and items is not an online feature. It's a feature of the game itself. It's just tied to the online stuff. So that's why it's locked behind a DRM check. But obviously GOG claim that they're DRM free, but clearly they're not, because they have Hitman the Game of the Year edition, which has DRM checks.
And they're also open about the fact that it says this on the page when you buy it.
It says some of the stuff that's locked, but not all of it. Like I said, it specifies that you can't access escalation missions, exclusive targets, or user-created missions, which are all obvious online features, but it doesn't specify the fact that you can't unlock new weapons, items, outfits, and starting locations.
I mean, the question would be, why does the game not allow that?
Because it's all tied to the online stuff. It's the same when you play it on console and you play it offline. You don't actually keep any of the items or weapons or outfits that you unlock during your playthrough or mission. You have to be connected in order to save it.
Is that not a developer issue?
It's the way the game's made, yes. But at the end of the day, if you claim to be DRM free and then put a game that has DRM checks in it, you're going against your own word. And plus it's false advertising in the fact that you're not specifying everything that's locked behind the DRM checks before purchase.
Or maybe they're not supposed to be locked behind, maybe it's a bug.
No, it's just how it's always worked in Hitman.
But then also, if obviously you don't have access to the internet, how are you using the store?
Because maybe they bought it when they had a connection, and then they decided they wanted to play the game offline, or their connection went down, or something like that, Connection's not always around 24/7. Sometimes it goes down, doesn't it?
Yeah, but then just play it when you've got connection then.
So sit there and stare at a wall until it comes back.
You have other games. There is no way that this is their only game.
But maybe that's the game they wanted to play, and they can't keep anything, they can't do anything.
Yep, sometimes that's the thing. Sometimes when you're I can't play Dead by Daylight if my internet's down.
Well, that's an online game. Hitman's a single-player game.
Well, clearly it's not.
Well, it is, because you don't play it with other people. It just requires internet for you to be able to keep your shit.
Exactly. If that's what is required, that's kind of what you agree to when you want to play that game.
I mean, it's a bad design anyway, but the fact that they said they're DRM free and then sell something that has DRM checks in it isn't good enough. If you want to be DRM free, be DRM free. If you're looking to pick up a new game from the PlayStation Store this week, then on the 11th of October we had Subdivision Infinity DX on the PS4, and then on the 12th of October we had Back 4 Blood on the PS5 and the PS4, Monster Crown on the PS4, Tokyo Chronos on PSVR, then on the 13th of October we had Catty and Batty the Spirit Guide on the PS5 and PS4, Kick It Bunny on the PS4, Immortus Temporis on the PS4, Quake on the PS5, and then on the 14th of October we had Aeon Must Die on the PS4, Doctor Who The Edge of Reality on the PS4, Dungeon Encounters on the PS4, Murder House on the PS4, Red Ronin on the PS4, Rescue HQ on the PS4, The Rift Breaker on the PS5, and then on the 15th of October we had the Crisis Remastered Trilogy on the PS4, Demon Slayer, the Hinokami Chronicles on the PS4 and PS5, NHL 22 on the PS4 and PS5, and The Good Life on the PS4. What do you think of these games? Do any of them interest you?
A good chunk of them I've not heard of. I mean, obviously, I know what Doctor Who is. Obviously, I don't know what kind of game The Edge of Reality is. Then there's obviously Back 4 Blood. I played the beta for it, so I might pick that up sometime. But realistically, you need people to play it with, so unless somebody else was also obviously going to get it, should I pick it up? I might pick up the Crisis trilogy. I don't know, they're supposed to be very pretty games. No one ever raised about the story. It's always, this is like the standard for, this is how you know what graphics supposed to look like, is if it can run Crisis, obviously. So, I don't know. We'll see what the hype is about.
Well, if you want to pick up a game for free, then you can head over to the Epic Game Store, and you can collect Stubbs the Zombie in Rebel Without a Pulse, or you can also get the Paladins Epic Pack, and those are both available now until the 21st of October. What do you make of those?
So, I think I actually looked at Stubbs the Zombie before. I can't remember what it was about, though.
It's about Stubbs the Zombie.
Well, yeah, but I can't remember like what genre game it was. Then obviously, it's a bit weird that they've put, obviously, for the other free game, it's like a DLC for a game that's already free. It's a bit weird.
Yeah, but it's not cheap DLC, so
yeah,
getting that for free is not bad. But also in the news, we have EA expanding its GeForce Now presence as they're bringing 4 more games. Up until recently, the only EA game that you could find on GeForce Now was Apex Legends, and now they're expanding the collection on there with the Steam and Origin versions of Dragon Age Inquisition, Mirror's Edge Catalyst, Battlefield 1 Revolution, and Unravel 2. What do you think about that?
I don't know, that's good, I guess. The GeForce Now supports, obviously, these games. I don't know, I guess it'd be good for someone who has, obviously, an NVIDIA card that is older and can't manage those games. But I would say you do have a really old card to not be able to manage the games.
Well, maybe they just don't want it taking up space.
I guess.
Well, we also have Battlefield 2042 getting a upgrade for cross-gen, as the digital standard edition of Battlefield 2042 for PS5 and Xbox Series X and S is going to be including a last-gen version of the game too, under the cross-gen bundle feature, which offers players digital access to Battlefield 2042 on both PS4 and PS5 or Xbox One and Xbox Series S or X. It was previously restricted to the Gold or Ultimate editions of the game, but EA has decided to bring it to the standard version as well. As they said, we realise that for many, next-gen hardware is still hard to come by, and we want as many Battlefield fans as possible to start the journey with us on day one. And we want to give those players the peace of mind that their progress carries over if they get a new system this holiday season or beyond. What do you think of this?
No, that's good. I mean, obviously it's something that should be standard.
Yeah. So
it's good that they are complying to the standard.
Well, we know that PlayStation want to break that standard, don't we?
Yeah.
Also in the news, we have BattleEye Anti-Cheat, which is now confirmed a Steam Deck support. BattleEye has been used in games like Destiny 2 and PUBG, and they've tweeted that it will run on Proton on Valve's handheld Steam Deck. BattleEye has provided native Linux and Mac support for a long time, and we can announce that we will also support the upcoming Steam Deck. This will be done on an opt-in basis, with game developers choosing whether they want to allow it or not. So that's a second anti-cheat that's now available for the Steam Deck, if developers want to use it or not. What do you make of that?
Wait, what was the other one?
Easy anti-cheat from Epic.
Right, yeah. Can't cheat on my Steam Deck now.
It's good to see that developers have more options for anti-cheats with the new system coming.
Yeah.
Also in the news, we have New World, which is already the 4th most played Steam game ever. According to SteamDB, it states that more than 913,000 players have logged onto the game, and that makes New World the most played game on the platform right now, putting it above Dota 2 and Counter-Strike Global Offensive, which are both free-to-play games. It also makes New World the 4th most played game on Steam of all time, according to the Steam charts. What do you make of that?
I don't know, not surprising. Like, everyone and their mum was playing New World.
Yeah, New World is still causing certain issues for GPUs, and Amazon is claiming that it's safe to play, regardless, Amazon, for its part, is convinced that any hardware that is failing has nothing to do with the game. As they said, we have received a small number of reports players are encountering issues with GeForce RTX cards. After a lengthy investigation, we have verified that there is no unusual behavior from New World that causes these issues. EVGA has previously acknowledged manufacturing issues on some GeForce RTX cards. New World is safe to play, and we encourage players who have encountered a hardware issue to contact the manufacturer. What do you make of that?
I'm still not touching it. They say obviously, it's a hardware issue. Well, okay, I won't find out if my hardware has that issue unless I play the game. If I play the game and then my hardware has an issue, now I don't have that hardware to be able to play anything else.
Yeah, well, I looked into the situation a little bit recently, and from what I understand, the main cards that are affected are the 3090s and 3080s, while obviously other GPUs are affected as well, but not in the same amount. But there is definitely an issue with the game itself. It's not just the manufacturing problem, because the manufacturing problem that they're referring to is a solder joint on one of the cards that basically the game forced the card to overwork itself so much that the solder joint melted, which then caused the card to fry. But the game itself, according to game developers that are not on the project but have looked at the coding for the game, they've said that the game is coded in a way that's very lazy and inefficient. And I've seen some tests done that shows the difference between having the game on 4K and having the game on just a standard 1080, and the amount of power that the game tries to draw from your graphics card. And it's a 100-watt difference, basically. But the game does spike all the time, because it's not coded very well. So even just the menu requires a lot of power, and it's just a pre-rendered scene. So it's trying to draw more power than is actually necessary, really. So it's advised to take off any overclocks you've got, reduce the power limits if you want to play the game, and just be very, very careful, basically. Because it's not as safe as Amazon says. They just don't want to actually pay for it, basically. They just want to point fingers at the manufacturers of the GPUs.
I mean, it's a bit weird that is it just their GPUs that are frying?
No, it's not just those ones. Those are just the most common ones that are frying. There is obviously a design issue with those, but there's also a coding issue with the game that's causing the issue on the card to be an actual problem because it's trying to draw more power than is necessary.
Yeah.
It's all a big mess. But on Amazon there's also people selling used Xbox Series X's at scalper markup prices. Almost a year after the PS5 and Xbox Series X came out, they're still incredibly hard to find and expensive, including on Amazon, where the retailer appears to be selling at least a few Microsoft consoles for roughly $1,000, or twice the retail price. But from what I can tell, it appears to not specifically be Amazon themselves, but rather third-party sellers on Amazon. So same as you get on eBay, really. What do you make of this?
How has it taken this long to get to this point? Of course people are going to do this.
Well, because Amazon are a bit more strict than eBay.
They're more likely to crack down on the issue, and if you are screwed over, I mean, to be perfectly fair, if you are choosing to obviously pay $1,000 for the platform and then you'll later find out it's not actually worth that much, then I guess that is kind of on you, and Amazon can't really do much for you. I don't know, maybe we could ban the sellers. No, you abuse your selling privileges. Get lost.
Yeah, that would be a good step if Amazon took down the listings and then banned the sellers.
Yeah.
But also in the news we have Bungie pledging to make Destiny 2 and its future games more accessible. Bungie has founded a dedicated accessibility initiative to oversee work that will make Destiny 2 and its future games more accessible. The studio outlined its ambitions for accessibility at Bungie, a new internal inclusion club, in a recent blog post, saying its mission is to educate everyone in the company on identifying barriers to improve the workplace accessibility, to make material improvements to the playability of Bungie games, and to partner with organisations within the gaming industry who are dedicated to game accessibility. Player support specialist Drew Tucker will help lead the studio's accessibility push, and he's joined by designer Jonathan Barbaro, senior director Robert Schuster, and other members of Bungie and the Destiny 2 team. And Tucker said, "In my time here, I've seen a lot of players describe mental health issues they are experiencing and are trying to seek help. We have procedures in place to guide them towards help, but I've always wanted to do more. And soon we'll be launching a fully localized article that will contain as much helpful information that we can provide and will continue to update it as time goes on. In the short term, the Accessibility Club is eyeing plans to add full auto options to Destiny 2 weapons like scout rifles and sidearms, and this has been suggested before, and as Robert says, these weapons can be a literal pain point for some players due to a repetitive motion required to manually fire them rapidly. And Tucker says that Bungie forums may also add a specific accessibility section so that players can inform them of issues that won't get lost among other game issues. What do you make of all this?
Well, I understand obviously why they would make the. I don't know why. Like, how are they going to help people with mental health?
By guiding them towards counselling and people that are actually professionally trained to deal with that stuff.
Yeah, so I might just could get pop-ups in my game. Oh, dickhead, you look depressed. Go see a counsellor.
Well, we'll have to wait for the article to actually be posted by them so we can see more specific details about it all.
But then obviously I understand obviously why, yes, you manually firing a button, but is that not how the gun actually works?
Yes, but there's obviously people that have issues in their hands where they can't constantly tap a button all the time because it'll hurt.
Yeah.
Causes shooting pain throughout their fingers and everything, so they make it a bit more accessible by just allowing you to hold the button down rather than constantly pressing it. I would assume that it has the same fire rate as if you was to be tapping it as fast as possible.
Yeah. I don't know, it's just obviously, if they're going to obviously add full auto to pistols and the scout rifle, then I don't know what would be the point in using a full auto rifle, a normal full auto rifle, as opposed to the scout rifle. The scout rifle is I think it has more velocity and higher damage, but it fires slower because it's single shot. But if obviously you add the full auto to that, so it's got obviously the benefit of the fast fire rate. It's also got the benefit of obviously having that damage boost, whereas it's obviously normally it'd be a trade-off.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do about it, They want to help people that have got that kind of issue, so that's what they've gone with.
Yeah, but I mean, everyone's going to use that then.
Whether they'll make changes to the guns and try and balance it a bit more around that, I don't know. I'll have to wait and see. Obviously, we'll wait for the article that specifies everything they're going to be doing. But apparently Destiny 2 is also going to be removing the Forsaken expansion next year with the launch of the Witch Queen expansion. The move has been positioned as a way to keep the game optimized and make room for new content. And the studio explained that this will help them make room for the Witch Queen's Throne World location, as well as new loot systems like weapon crafting. What do you make of that?
I reckon that they shouldn't be taking away content I paid for.
Yeah.
And it is not making it very accessible. Because as someone I've not actually finished the expansion, but then again, why are they removing the Forsaken expansion? I've not finished. I started it, but then I stopped playing Destiny 2.
Well, you've got until next year to finish it before it's gone.
Why couldn't they? They could have got rid of older expansions.
Maybe they're not big enough to make enough room.
If you get rid of both the Mars and the Trials of Osiris expansions, that should make enough room, right?
I don't know.
Or it's just a fact that it happens to be the same. If they're making the Witch Queen one, if it's at the same location.
Possibly. Also in the news we have Capcom's COO saying that they want the company to make PC its main platform for games, according to a translated script from a Japanese outlet. Capcom also claims to have 50% of its sales on PC and 50% on consoles by 2022 or 2023, according to the Chief Operating Officer. What do you make of all this?
PC is a decent platform to actually be able to develop things on.
Well, in trailer news, we have a new teaser trailer for a new Layers of Fear game. The new Layers of Fear game will be released on the PS5, but we don't really have much information about it at the moment, as it was only a teaser. We'll wait to see if they do any gameplay trailers in the future.
Is it a new game or a remake?
It's a new project.
Because it looks very similar.
It says it's a new project.
Okay.
Also in the news, an elderly couple that wants someone to teach them how to play The Last of Us 2, as they made an ad on, I think, Craigslist, and they said, "My husband and I, senior citizens, need a personal tutor to come to our home and teach us how to play PS4 games, particularly The Last of Us Part 2, which we are having trouble with. We are senior citizens and we need a person that knows the games and how to work the controller. We need someone who is patient and can teach us without judging us, without getting frustrated or irritated for 2 to 3 hours. We want to enjoy this diversion. What do you think about that?
I think obviously on paper it's really nice that obviously the senior citizens still want to be able to play the game. But the thing is, how is anyone going to actually be able to teach them how to play the game? Is it that hard of a game to play?
Well, for an elderly person who's never played a PS4 game before, yes.
Yes, but how do you teach that?
I don't know. It probably would be better if they started with something a bit simpler to get used to the controller and, all the buttons and stuff. But obviously they want to experience The Last of Us Part 2 for...
Yeah, obviously I'd be able to I could play the game in front of them and they can watch it, but they want to physically obviously do it themselves, but they don't have the ability to do it themselves. But that kind of depends on... I don't know why. It doesn't say obviously what the reasoning for them struggling is. They need to learn to work the controller. Did they only just get a PlayStation and they don't know how to really work the controller? Because
probably.
I still now have to teach my friend how to do things on a PlayStation because he's not used to playing on a PlayStation because he's a fucking Nintendo fanboy. He's getting there, and he doesn't have obviously the issues that the senior citizens would have. In that, obviously when you get old, sometimes your eyesight gets a bit worse. So maybe they're not seeing something fast enough, or
well, the reaction times would also be slower.
Yeah, exactly. So that's something obviously you won't be able to teach.
Yeah,
you won't be able to teach reaction time.
Yeah, but they're complete newbies to it, so they want to know how to do it. Basically, all they're requesting. It's a very wholesome story.
It is. But I just don't know how you would go about actually doing it.
I don't know, but I hope that they can find a patient gamer who can teach them, and then they can enjoy a good experience.
Yeah, I mean, I'll pop round and have a cup of tea with you, but I don't know if I can do 2-3 hours trying out that game. It might take a while to get through. We could try for about half an hour, see how we get on. Then maybe another time, obviously, maybe we can try for an hour. It depends on how much obviously they can do before they get they get too stressed that they're not able to do it, or I get too stressed because I know what to do, but I can't portray that and get them to obviously do it because of obviously if they are lacking motor skills or visual skills. I don't know, but obviously you play it on the easiest difficulty. I'm not going to throw them into... Does Last of Us 2 have the grounded mode?
Yes, they released an update for it that brought grounded mode.
Yeah, obviously you're not going to be playing that with the older couple.
But you can also make The Last of Us 2 ridiculously easy if you wanted to. Like with the accessibility options, you can literally be invisible to the enemies if you go prone.
Perfect. That's perfect for these people. Wait, go prone? Why have I got to lay down?
To sneak around like a snake in the grass. But anyway, I hope they find their help and get to enjoy the game. But that just about does it for this episode. If you have any thoughts on anything we've discussed, leave them in the comments below, and we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.